morning. Good morning. Good morning. Sit down. So I want to express greetings. I always, consider entire 7 billion human beings. We are human brothers, sisters. I really believe now we basically same human being, different culture, different country, different religion, that's secondary. There are differences. But basically, the way we born, the way we enjoy mother's milk, we all same. And then at the end, dying, also 7 million beings same. And we, since our life, come from our mother, and we received tremendous affection, care by our mother. So, human being, our life start with the full of compassion from our mother. Without that, we can't survive. And now, some scientists say basic human nature is more compassionate because we are social animal. Any social animal, individuals survive entirely depend on the community. So we, no matter how successful individual, actually they survive depend or based on the community. Without community, no matter how powerful, how rich, can't survive. So therefore, now by physical nature, we have also the sense of concern with the rest of your community. Then ancient time, community limited where you live, small circle. Now today's reality, East depend West, West depend East, similarly North, South. So that's now today's reality. From that viewpoint, now entire 7 billion human beings are one our community. So now, a lot of problem, essentially our own creation, on the basis of differences, nationality, or religious faith, or like that. So now time come, we have to think more seriously, oneness of 7 billion human beings. So my number one commitment is try to promote sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings. And since some scientists say basic human nature is more compassionate, now education should include education about how to keep warm-heartedness. You see, now again, some scientists say constant anger, hatred, actually eating our immune system. So even the health viewpoint, Om-heartedness is very important. So now existing education, these days I express from kindergarten, we teach children how to take care their physical, hygiene of physical. Now, meantime, we should teach children hygiene of emotion. That's very important. From kindergarten level up to university level, how to keep our peace of mind. And the destroyer of peace of mind is anger, suspicion, jealousy. These drugs, alcohol, not much help. These emotion, you see, the counterforce of this emotion is, again, emotion, compassion. And with compassion, forgiveness, tolerance, these things happen. So these knowledge, ancient Indian sort of the knowledge, over 3,000 years in this country, already developed the inner value. So, ahimsa, concept of ahimsa, over 3,000 years. And in order to practice or carry ahimsa seriously, karuna, mental level, karuna, very important. So, karuna, ahimsa, over 3,000 years in this country. Ahimsa means non-violence, and karuna means compassion. And then in this country, you see, develop how to tackle destructive emotion, how to increase or strengthen these positive emotion. So over 3,000 years already developed concept of shamatha and concept of vipassana. Like Mahavira, product of Indian tradition. And then after that, Buddha, again, the product of Indian tradition. So, India, I always describe myself, we are a student of a Nalendra tradition. See, Buddha Dharma, originally, the Dharmas, Buddha's first Dharma wheel at Sarnath, that recorded Pali, Tripitaka, and Pali. That's common, all Buddhist country. Then, gradually, a Nalendra institution developed. So at that time, the Sanskrit language considered also the intellectual or scholars sort of also the language. So then the Nalendra tradition used Sanskrit language. So Buddha, according now this tradition, Buddha at Rajagiri, he taught about Parinchaparamita Sutra. So in Sanskrit. And then third Dharma wheel, Yambochensa Kosa. Vaishali. Another sort of teaching. So according to Sanskrit tradition, Buddha, three sort of the Dharma wheel. So now Nalendra eventually produced number of great scholars like Nagarjuna and Buddhapalita, Aryadeva, and Chandrakirti. And Nalendra, one special thing is very much use logical approach. Buddha himself, you see, express, "Oh, my follower, monks, scholars should not accept my teaching out of faith, or rather thorough investigation and experiment." So in any way, since 8th century, the Tibetan king, Tibetan emperor, Tsen is inspired a very close link with Chinese emperor through marriage. And then a lot of sort of Buddhist influence from China. So most sacred Buddha statue in Lhasa, you see, brought by Chinese princess, like that. So in spite of such sort of very close link, the Tibetan king prefer Buddha Dharma should bring directly from India. So he invited the Shantarakshita of Nalendra master, great logician, philosopher. He introduced Buddha Dharma in Tibet, 8th century, according to Nalendra tradition. So we see, he himself, great logician, he's writing some logic, pramana, and philosophy. So those he's writing, we still use as a text. So since he introduced, he himself great logician, so he introduced Buddha Dharma according to Nalendra tradition. So the text which we study, including logic. So whenever you see we come across some point, even Buddha's own teaching word, we not easily say yes, yes. We always, you see, in our mind, why he said that? What's the reason? What's the reason? So the student who studied logic, then we always, you see, investigate what is the reason, what is the reason. So that's very useful. The faith, yes, yes, you see, in a way, close our brain sort of door, close, yes, 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 yes. But student who studied logic, open our door, why? So now Buddha Dharma, according to Nalendra tradition, is, you see, very much scientific. Some Chinese scholar, you see, who saw some publication from here. You see, in public level, there's Chinese government control, but some university have the opportunity to get some copy, which we publish here. So some Chinese scholar who saw these books, they express Tibetan Buddhism is truly Nalendra tradition, and Nalendra tradition is very scientific religion. That's quite true. According to my own little experience, you see, in this very room, I met a number of occasion scientists and discuss. So it became very clear, mutual learning. Many scientists now really, appreciate our knowledge about psychology and including quantum physics. So one Indian was a great scholar, Raja Ramana, late Raja Ramana. He once told me, quantum physics in the West, something new. In this country, over 2,500 years already developed. It is very true. So one subject which we study about Chitta Mantras philosophy and also Madhyamika philosophy, and clearly mention nothing exists as appears. There's big gap, appearances and reality. Now quantum physics also now begin to feel the external thing appears exist objectively. But if you investigate, nothing exists objectively. Everything depends on observer. So, Indian tradition really, I think, highly sort of they develop about our brain, not just a faith. So I have some critical view. Existing education system in this country, not adequate. Modern education, very important for material development. At the same time, technology, science, very useful. But when the subject about our emotion, how to bring calm mind, peaceful mind, then modern education, nothing to say. So now, ancient Indian education. Therefore, my latest commitment is revival of this ancient Indian knowledge in school, in education, not temple. Yeah. So India have the ability to combine modern education and ancient Indian education combined. So modern education helps material development. Ancient Indian education develop peace of mind. So that's very important. So my now latest commitment is try to revival of this ancient Indian knowledge in modern India through education, not through prayer, not through ritual. Like that. So now some questions. Question.
Can I?
Yes.
You mentioned a very interesting, you made a very interesting statement. Hygiene of emotion. An amazing statement. For me, it's new, but I think that's what needs to be addressed. But when we talk of emotion, don't we stop questioning?
No. Emotion. Among the emotion, you see, such as sense of concern about other, as compassion. You see, sometimes you see compassionate emotion so strong, tear come. But these positive, constructive emotion based on reason, then anger, jealousy, frustration, these destructive emotion, no proper base, just sort of ignorance. I. When we feel I, self-centered attitude, then it seems beside this body and mind, there is something independent I. So we can say my mind, my body. So the real owner of this body and mind, there is self. So that self, something independent. So according a non-Buddhist school of thought in this country called Atma, it's quite useful. So Atma, no beginning, no end. So life after life, Atma come. So rebirth theory on that basis. So Buddhism, according to Buddhism, Anatma theory. no independent self. So self, just mere designation or the combination of body and mind. The body and mind, you see, there are many levels of body and mind. Grosser level, more subtle level, most subtle, innermost subtle level. So most subtle level consciousness combined with some energy, that is most subtle level body. So that goes life after life. So in any way, the
emotions don't be so.
So you see, the positive emotion combine here, source of emotion, and brain combine. So positive emotion very much based on reason. Destructive emotion, no reason, just emotion.
Your Holiness, I have a question for you. I would like to know from you what is the meaning of life? What is the essence of life? It's a difficult question.
You see, this being, sentient being, we have although the flower or trees also have life, but we have consciousness, chit. The happiness, sadness related with chit. Even you see, sensorial consciousness, there's no feeling. The sensorial consciousness, eye consciousness, ear consciousness, these are just sort of bring information. Then the real feeling, chit, sixth mind. So anger, loving kindness, all related with chit, sixth mind. So sensorial level, I think obviously, when our anger on the level of chit, there, sixth mind, there, eye consciousness, seeing a nice thing, ear consciousness, hearing a nice sound, but anger still remains there. So the real destroyer of happiness is anger. So happiness very much related with peace of mind. So anger destroys that. So no matter you enjoy the material value, in deep insight, very fear or anger like that. So then in chit, sixth mind, through training, through understanding about the reality, then basic sixth mind, you see, have the ability to tackle anger and keep peace of mind. Then sensory level, even you see some difficult situation or hear very bad news, not much disturbed. So training of mind means chit, sixth mind, not just sensory level.
Holiness,
train our chit mind.
sorry, one question here.
I come from the land of Nagarjuna. How do I train my chit mind, my conscious? You said the beautiful word constructive emotions. That answer is already come, which is from brain and the heart when correlates and they say that is the constructive emotion. My answer has come. But how do I train my chit? That is exactly what I'm looking for.
Now wisdom, compassion related with chit, not sensorial level. So, like Nagarjuna's, you see, teaching, all logical explanation. And Nagarjuna's, you see, things does not exist as appears, like quantum physics. The quantum physics and Nagarjuna's theory very similar. So these, you see, use when these negative emotions come, you see,
Inappropriate exaggeration. Emotions arise from negative emotions arise from inappropriate conceptualization.
I think simple word, destructive emotion, very much based on appearances. So things objectively exist. So something good or bad, something independently absolute there. So that
So through inappropriate exaggeration or conceptualization, then attachment and aversion arises.
So therefore, you see, understand nothing exists as appears. And the deeper reality, nothing independently exists. Once understand that, then the very basis of destructive emotion become weak.
The grasping at a certitude, as if it's the solidity of the object will collapse once you understand that nothing exists independently.
Like that. So you come from
Andhra Pradesh, land of Nagarjuna and Amravati.
Amravati, yes.
Amravati, and I was brought up in the Nagarjuna teachings, even though Hindu, but I was brought up in the Nagarjuna
Wonderful,
teachings.
wonderful.
Holiness, how do we find faith? The heart wants to believe, but the mind is rational and questioning and skeptical. It doesn't allow me to truly believe. How do I find that belief in faith?
Now Buddha himself, Buddha himself, you see, oh my follower, scholar, monk, should not accept my teaching out of faith, but rather thorough investigation and experiment. That's very scientific. Buddha never say, oh, you should believe what I said. No. Those things which I mentioned, you should investigate, further investigation and experiment. So most of these Nalanda master, like Nagarjuna, you see, investigate Buddha's own word, then they make distinction. This Buddha's word we can accept. This Buddha's word, Buddha taught to some special group of people. So according to their mentality, Buddha taught that, but we cannot accept. So faith, through reasoning, more reasoning, this is like some Buddhist teaching. Now scientists also now helping. So therefore, these more reasoning, more investigate, then you get firm faith. There are two kinds of faith. The
two kinds of faith are the faith of the intellectually inclined beings, which is actually based on reason, sound reasoning, and the faith of those not so intelligent ones, which is based more on like blind faith.
So these days, I'm expressing those Buddhists, you should be 21st century Buddhist. So Buddhist faith, just Buddham Shanam Gacchami, Dhammam Shanam Gacchami is not sufficient. You should investigate what Dharma, what's the value, and practice. Then you gain some experience. Then faith come. Not just because of the superstition, no. Blind faith, no.
Your Holiness, I would like to ask you how to find peace within ourselves, how to feel satisfied.
So I feel, of course, you say, due to different mental disposition. To some people, just is God, God, God. That also brings some peace. Okay. But then Nalanda tradition is investigation, analyze. So then, as I mentioned earlier, all those destructive emotion very much related with ignorance. So no proper base. Then all positive emotion, sound basis. So investigation, reasoning, that these sound, these constructive emotion, very much solid basis. So we can further develop. Then all these negative emotions such as anger, attachment, jealousy, these no sound basis. So that's, I think, really hopeful sign. All destructive emotion, no proper base, sound base. All positive emotion, sound base. So we can further develop, further strengthening.
Yes. His Holiness, good morning. As you said, values underpin everything in life, and values are the cores of humanity. And I founded 5 global values: love, peace, integrity, responsibility, and respect. But I found the value systems are missing in our education. And you said your goal is that value should be, how do we inculcate values and how do we incorporate values into the education system? No school across the world is included in the curriculum.
Firstly, is a knowledge in order to expand about hygiene of emotion. We should know the whole system of emotion. For that, whole system of mind function.
So we have the classification of mind into primary mind and secondary minds. And within secondary minds, there are actually different kinds, like 56 different kinds of secondary minds. So these classifications of the mind is very important.
So it is like matter, it's a particle. For physical health, some particle harmful, some particle helpful. Similarly, knowing all the whole sort of system of our mind or emotion, then we can make distinction. This kind of emotion very harmful, this kind of emotion very helpful. So now we already, you see here, government college, you see, so they fully agree. In modern education should include some education about our emotion, these things. So we already did some plan. So firstly, some kind of teachers training about emotion, about mind, these things. So we now, already now, the government college already, they take this method. So we'll see gradually.
His Holiness, right here.
We are
His Holiness, on the right side.
Hold on. Oh, yes.
His Holiness, thank you so much for your presence. I'm working on science-backed wellness, mindfulness, physical and mental well-being. That's my area of work at the moment. But also using artificial intelligence, which is technology, to bring it to as many people possible. So your guidance and your help would really be much, you know.
What's the question?
So I'm using, I'm working on science-backed wellness, mindfulness, mindful living.
Yes.
I'm working on that, but using also technology, which is artificial intelligence these days, to bring it to as many people possible in a digital way also. So it's both digital and in seminars. So your guidance and your help on this matter.
Artificial intelligence that in the Tony meet Detula and Kevasway and the other Jews, meet the two that you could use. The Detola and technology shoes.
What do you mean? What is the exact meaning? Artificial intelligence, what is that?
It's just technology, intelligence technology to make it more and more personal for people.
Mathematic intelligence, but not human intelligence.
It's just technology.
It's data processing.
Yeah, it's
making data intelligent.
Computer, these
computers.
things.
Yes, computers.
I do not think the technology, I think, have the ability to produce like a human mind. I don't think. I think computer, if you try to make some kind of computer, you see, so much sort of sophisticated, then I think the computer, like this, I think this room, a huge computer, then maybe, you see, this brain, very, very complicated.
Yes, more than complicated.
So I don't think, at least for the time being, I think next one century, I don't think technology can produce something like human brain. I don't think.
So His Holiness, I was just saying that it's science-backed. It's science-backed wellness, mindfulness, but just using for education purposes, just using technology for it.
Mindfulness that in the sign.
Correct.
Mindfulness.
Oh.
Too many shut in that Siri give you me to do cheers and develop
I think actually training on technology, you see, carry some new knowledge. That's okay.
Yes,
that's okay.
Yes, yes, that's what I was saying.
But
Yeah.
training our mind, I think technology cannot do.
No. Just science, because science-backed wellness, just using technology.
We are from Vietnam.
Your Holiness,
from the delegation.
If you see now,
and
through technology, operation, brain, then all the part of brain which develop negative emotion, can remove, then most welcome. I don't think impossible.
We are from Vietnam, and Vietnam delegation would like to thank you for your time to receiving us. Vietnam is my country. It's as you know that it's a long war time. Now our main target is a struggle against poverty, and we do believe that in Vietnam the Buddhists develop widely, and we do believe that each person we work as hard as we can to bring happiness to people, to our people, our family. And I am very expressed about your said that education combined between develop the energy of brain and technology. And today we would like to ask you about if you have a time, we would like to invite you to come to visit Vietnam, to see the culture, the Buddhist in my country, and Vietnamese life and thinking. And now we do the exercise and try to open the brain to develop themselves, ourselves.
Okay.
And thank you.
Your Holiness.
You see, traditionally, Sri Lanka, Burma, Thailand, and then Cambodia, Laos, and then Vietnam, China, Korea, Japan, all these nations traditionally their traditional religion is Buddhism. And within Buddhism, the China, Vietnam, Korea, Japan is the tradition of Nalanda tradition. So now the point is those Buddhists should be study more. As I mentioned earlier, those Buddhists should be 21st century Buddhist. I often is telling Chinese, they always say Amitabha, Amitabha. I always telling them, they just repeat Amitabha, Amitabha. They won't get Buddhahood. You see, training our mind and the concept of shunyata, emptiness, and concept of altruism. These two things is the real method to achieve Buddhahood. So these, in my own case, many of my friends similar. My own case about emptiness, shunyata. Now, more than 70 years, I seriously thinking, practice, or analyze. Now, gradually, I gain some sort of firm conviction, and with that, some feeling, destructive emotion, much less. Then altruism, bodhicitta, or the real sort of troublemaker in our mind is selfish, self-centered emotion. Then things believe as appears.
Believing on the appearance that things you have relying on the appearance level, and then giving a stamp of approval to the concreteness of things as independently existent.
So, you see, self-centered attitude, I, then that brings fear, suspicion, anxiety. That creates anger. So, these two emotions, one, accept, believe as appears. This is one source of problem. Then, self-centered attitude is another source of problem. Now, these two, the main Buddhist teaching, bodhicitta, infinite altruism, that practice reduce self-centered attitude. Then shunyata, wisdom, which understand the things does not exist as appears or independently exist, just a mere designation. That wisdom side, you see, antidote of Dinzi.
And grasping at a true existent.
So these, as far as altruism, as far as sort of the shunyata theory, as I mentioned earlier, now nearly 70 years I meditate, thinking, very helpful.
Good morning, sir.
Then altruism, at least 50 years I practice, very, very helpful. So bring peace of mind. So no fear. Very good. And that mental peace also, you see, affect body. Now, 84-year-old person, but my body, especially brain, very clear, very sharp. I think I'm trying to my brain as sharp as Nagarjuna's brain. Yes.
Holiness.
Hello. Good morning, sir.
Holiness.
Okay.
I have a question. Many religions do think to have the monopoly on the truth, and they don't accept people who have other religions, people who think differently. How do you think to solve this problem? Because most wars start because of religions.
Yeah.
And
I think now the concept of one truth, one religion, and the concept of several truth, several religion. Now, in terms of individual, the concept of one truth, one religion is very useful. Single-pointed faith. But in terms of humanity or community, it is impossible. So we should accept several truth, several religions. It's a fact. And then this country, India, over 1,000 years, at least 2,000 years, all major religious traditions lived together here, this country. I think Sankhya philosophy, 3,000 years old, then Jainism, then Buddhism. Then from outside, from Middle East, Judaism, Islam, Christian, all. And then in Bombay, Zoroastrian. Very small Parsi community, very small, but no fear, isn't it? In Bombay, big city, I think millions of Christians, millions of Hindus, millions of Muslims, about less than 100,000. They feel no threat, very happy. So that's India. All world religion exist in this country.
Good morning, sir.
You see, mutual respect and many cases mutual learning. That's the greatness of India. So that brings me conviction, religious harmony is possible. So look, this country, over 1 billion population, human being, religion still remain harmoniously.
Good morning, sir. Sir, if you just consider 3 alphabets, B, C, and D, the birth is not in your control. Death is not in your control. Whether we can see, you can control the choice of life. The choice of life is in your hand, or it already been destined.
Karza. Correct. Oh, I think our experience, pains, happiness, all these, you see, according its own causes. And here,
There are 2 kinds of causes. One is the substantial cause, and another one is the cooperative cause.
So substantial cause is mainly our previous action, or the action which very nature brings some happiness. Other, that result you get more happiness. Any action which brings unhappiness to other, including animal, that karma, that action brings more suffering oneself. So, so there's, and the karma, as this is according to the Indian tradition, life after life. So some action you committed in previous life, or some result come this life. And then
so the cooperative cause.
Cooperative cause. So that is the environment and the community also you see make differences. So in any way, basically everything depends on our mind. So mind try to be more calm, more compassionate mind. And then all days, even death come. No need to worry. You practice while you alive. You done maximum way to bring happiness to other. So that's good karma. That's a guarantee your next life will be happy life. So these things, so entirely depend on oneself. If you see, carry life, cheating other people, and bully other people, exploit other people, then these are destructive action, destructive karma. So even within this life, early part of life, you committed this negative thing. Before death, later part of your life, some problems may happen. So like that. So therefore, everything, the theistic religion, everything in God's hand. Non-theistic religion, everything your own hand. If you carry your life meaningful, compassionate way, good life, good action, good karma. Like that.
Your Holiness, on behalf of the Dutch delegation, thank you for having us here and being here. And I have just one question. We have Diwali. We're also celebrating Diwali in the Netherlands. And the meaning of Diwali is enlighten yourself. And then you can abolish hate, anger, jealousy, envy in yourself. And by loving yourself, spread the love to others, and then abolish darkness in society.
Oh.
And everybody celebrates this, but the day after, everybody goes into the normal things of life. So if I can learn something here, what can I do differently tomorrow to affect myself and society, to keep those teachings in mind and put them in true action instead of just going back to work or into politics? How can we as a society change this tomorrow?
Because on Diwali, correct.
Diwali tangde yung Quran so pa chamba da tsewe gi nam gi shu shu tingu ros the did uji da and the chamba da tsewe gi message the mong Quran gi ji nam nam lam mi na me khabe na da tune
me yo shemos kase
Diwali Quran so ni ma khashi ji
roba
you pa so ta ni ba te da na
Hey.
the ga ding so shu ju ro the did you so do ji chamba da tsewe ni mi di
Oh. Mainly, you see, familiarize these positive emotion. Now, the wisdom, there are three levels. Firstly, so the knowledge, hearing. That, not much effect. Then, on the point to which you already hear, that analyze by yourself. Then another level of knowledge or understanding. That brings conviction. So just hearing, today you hear something, the next day you hear something different, then you may confuse. The second level of knowledge, analyze by yourself. Then that brings conviction. Then today you get some knowledge, the next day some people say something different, then you feel, no, I already analyzed deep way. So I full conviction. So the other's view is something different. Then the thing which we the conviction, that familiarize, often think. For example, daytime, from early morning, and then noon, afternoon, that before bed, thinking these lines. Through that way, you familiarize, then eventually some sort of transformation about our view or mind. So that really affects our life, our emotion. So there are different level understanding. Firstly, hearing. Secondly, kasoda through contemplation. Then third, nyamnyo.
Habituation.
Oh, like that. So everything depends on yourself. Therefore, Buddha stated, you are your own master. Yes.
This is the last question because we'll take photos after this.
Your first statement was the institution of mother, the one who gives you birth, and the mother earth gives you everything, gives you compassion, which is according to the basic quality of human being. In your opinion, where does then this distortion enters, which causes this differences, whether physical or the kind of troubles that you spoke about? So, in your opinion, where it gets into the human being?
Karsa.
Distortions of two. Pamegi chambadan koyugi sozo pentoda beton nyami shasa yorwas. Ine ta pame chambada chi kaso chi chamba jibe storage time.
Kare.
Pamanda digi chambadan digi the chabi the mero storage time koyula pame du cheta digi kangen borwas. That the two are kangen borwas.
I think blind desire. Lack of wisdom, knowing, making money, and just serious concern about money. Then don't care about the damage ecology. And also, you see, think just your own sort of wealth. Then gradually, huge gap, rich and poor people, number of poor people. I think global level, huge gap, rich and poor. And national level also, rich and poor. One time, I noticed in Washington, the most richest country, but the suburbs or Washington, many poor family there. So, in this respect, as far as socio-economic theory is concerned, I am Marxist. I really sort of, impressed Karl Marx. You see, when the industrialization in Europe, the too much exploitation, worker. So he stand right of those working class people. So that's with moral principle. And then his economic theory is equal distribution. So now his theory, if we follow, more people follow, then this huge gap, rich and poor, reduce. So from that viewpoint, I'm socio-economic theory, I'm Marxist. However, I totally against Leninism. Because Lenin, although he carried the name of Marxism, but the reality, you see, the Bolshevik revolution is very much in the sort of circumstances of violence, including civil war. So his mentality is very much militant, wartime militant. So, tight control, secrecy, ruthless sort of, as they carry. So I feel Karl Marx's, I think, reasonable, I think wonderful theory spoiled by Karl Marx. Because of Lenin. And then Stalin followed that. And the Chairman Mao Zedong also, you see, go that way. So this because of the circumstances, their thinking is very much militant. Okay.
Okay, thank you.